Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, one of the recurring themes that comes up, we have certain themes that come up, certain questions which are constantly repeated, and it's evident that people don't look back on some of the other videos. They'll ask the question afresh. And one of the questions that does come up a lot, whether it's asked or not, or faced or not, is another thing. But one of the decisions that you might have to make if you're coming over here to meet a Filipina, or you've already met someone and you're coming over here to either live or to go back to America. And so it's a big question really as to whether old man, young woman should settle here or in, say, America or the UK or whatever the first world, we'll continue to call it a first world country. So the question would be, how well will your Filipina settle in? But maybe that's not really the question that you should be asking. It's how much will your Filipina change if you take her to a first world country where compared to some of the struggles that she may have had in this country, in Philippines, in her home, the challenges will be completely different. You know, here, if you go out early in the morning and deal with a vendor, if you have some small item, that vendor may not have change of a 100 peso bill. Can you get that? That's $2, and they may not have change of that. So if you present them with $500 pesos, boy, they may actually freak out. And very often you may be left standing there at the what we'll call the cash desk, at the point of payment, and they'll have to say, "Excuse me, I'll be back," and they go across to somebody else who may be slightly better off at that time in the morning, and come back with the change and then give you the change. So everybody has to work together, but in a way which you would not get in any other situation in, say, America or the UK, because people start out with what they call petty cash, and that petty cash is held so that they can do business the next day. The idea is not common here, and so that's one of the very big changes. Now, having money is another thing. Now, two recent cases that we learned about was where it was a case of two women who were interested in the same person, and they were chosen on the basis of one was good at spending and the other was more frugal and better at saving. And the one who was better at saving became the winner, shall we call it that, the winner. And so the other person, who may have been actually much better for that guy, but because of their approach to money were a no-go. It didn't work, and that may be a recurring theme as well, is that you may have to make your choices very much depending on whether you are going to live here or whether you're going to go back home. And if you go back home, maybe someone who is more attuned to a Western kind of lifestyle would be better for you. One of the most successful marriages that I know is one where the Filipina was more of a privately educated Filipina, came from a family who were not poverty stricken, were actually well off enough to have given her a good education and an almost Western style upbringing. So now she has gone to live with her husband and she's more attuned to that kind of life. So she didn't actually change. Now, that's one of the most successful happy marriages that I know of. Now, in other cases where the woman was not used to handling money, was not used to living in a Western style environment, now there would be serious changes, and not all of them would be great. So when you actually think about what kind of a living style, a lifestyle that you're going to offer this lady that you are intending to spend your hopefully intending to spend your whole life with, then you have to be able to view whether she would be able to handle the kind of lifestyle that you live. Now we know various people who have come here and visited us and stayed. Like 2 years ago, we had a lot of visitors before we actually closed our guest house and started renovations. And we know people who came and for one reason and another it didn't work out with the people that they hooked up with, and they've gone home. And now, of course, like even ones who have a happy family, they're stranded wherever they are, be it Australia or the US or UK. And they're stranded there because of the travel restrictions, so they can't get back here anyway. Now the people who didn't have a successful meeting with someone that they could spend their life with, they are the ones that are now stuck in their lifestyle there, and they share that lifestyle with us and with everybody on Facebook. And you can see that these people are quite well off. Certainly they live in what I call a stainless steel kitchen environment. In other words, everything is so beautifully done. Most Americans, actually even compared to the British, most Americans have a refrigerator that is almost as big as our bathroom, and they're used to it being full. That's not the case here. They sell refrigerators that are barely more than a large suitcase. So the Filipinos that go to live in that kind of environment, they really have some adjustments to make, and it will be impossible for them to not think of themselves as multimillionaires. You know, when I was in America, one of the things that really astonished me was what they call deed restricted communities. And in a deed restricted community, it's one in which a designated area with certain number of houses and large yards and beautifully manicured roads, the sidewalks and the grass verges, everything is just beautifully kept. You can't park your car on the road at night, it must be in the garage, and the garage door must be closed. this is how some of the deed-restricted communities work. One that I saw, I looked at the deed restrictions, and you had to have your lawn, the lawn had to be sown in a grass that was of a uniform colour. Now, when you start to lay sod for your yard, you got to make sure that it all comes from the same kind of seed, because you might have patches which are a completely different colour, and that's important in a deed restricted community. It certainly is important, because in some of the deed restricted communities with a guard, they have a 24-hour guard on the entrance to the community, and those, they're not even allowed to do their own gardening. Everything is done on contract and to a particular way of doing things, a particular style, so that everybody is assured that things will stay the same. So, expecting that someone who came from some of the communities that we have helped in, we see beautiful, well turned out, well dressed, well finished ladies coming out of the simplest house, something that may not even have a tin roof on it. A tin roof. It may be a Nipa house, and they've come from the most humble beginnings. They may have managed to, like Beth, she was able to have an education because she was a working student, and she worked doubly hard than anybody else that didn't have to work, because she had to do a job as well as do a study. So the person that you, even, I've said this before as well, that if you're working in a hospital in America or in the UK, chances are that there may be, depending on the size of the hospital, there may be 100 or more people working in that hospital who came from a background such as I am suggesting. A dirt floor, very simple lifestyle, no fridge, maybe no running water. I don't think that that's impossible, because when Beth and I first arrived here, it was only 3 months prior to our managing to get our marriage sorted out so that we could come to live in Bohol. We actually were the ones who were able to make the power happen. We were able to pay for the power to be put on. So we used to fetch water from the well. There was no running water, no faucet, no running water. We bathed down at the well. We hauled water from the well every day. So you may be working with someone who looks as smooth and well turned out as can be, but may have come from the most humble beginnings. So can a Filipina coming from such a beginning make the change? Well, I would have to say yes. Depending on their attitude, they would be able to. We stayed with someone. We stayed in Dumaguete with Joy, who was a subscriber, and she had communicated. We've made a lot of friends with people who are subscribers, people who we probably will never meet, and yet we become good friends with them, as it was with Joy. And she invited us to come over and have a stay at her apartment. Well, when we went to her apartment, Joy was one of those people who just, everything had to be perfect. every piece of cutlery matched the next piece, every plate matched the next piece. We had the right glass for water or wine. Everything was so beautifully done. And in conversation, she said her husband trained her in all of those things. Now, she had to be willing, and if she hadn't been willing, she would not have learned. So that may be another thing that you have to actually put into your reasoning for whether this person that you're going to put so much hope with is going to be okay with the way that you live. And also, the other thing is that if it's an older man, much younger woman, if that is the situation, even if you're married, the pressures that younger woman will feel when she goes to a Western country will be something else. Dark eyes, long black hair, trim, tiny, petite, all of these things, and beauty. She will be regarded as a beauty where you take her, and as such there will be predators which would just love to come in on all of the good luck that you have managed to have. Something to be thought about the kind of integrity that the lady that you are putting your hopes in has, the kind of lifestyle. Was she heavily involved with a church? Did she do any volunteer work? Did she help out others? Or was she more self-centered? These are things that you have to actually think about. So that's enough on this, I think. You really need to think things out very carefully, especially if you're going abroad, back to where you came from, and you're taking that lady with you. She's going to have some massive adjustments to make. Thanks for looking in, and bye for now.